Hey guys! So, a bit of a hiccup with today's video. I was so excited about it, and it was gonna be awesome, and I was gonna try a couple of different camera angles, and I had it all filmed and ready to edit and everything, and then one of the video files disappeared, which sucks. But, I do still have the other video, which has the whole thing on it. It's just a little weird for you guys, because I'm not looking at this camera the whole entire time, so forgive me. I'm really excited about the video. I think it'll still be awesome. It was super fun to film. It just may take a little adjusting to, so forgive me. I will have to get my technical difficulties worked out, and we will just have to try new format in the future. So, enjoy! And I'm back! Hey everyone, it's Rochelle O'Neill with Inkloft Presents. I know it's been a while since I filmed. I'm really sorry. November, December, we're supposed to have videos, but things got a little crazy, and I just wasn't able to get anything filmed and posted. I'm really sorry. But I'm super excited about today's video because I am going through my favorite reads of 2016. So, 2016 is over. Kind of a crazy year, and I know everyone's got an opinion on it, but regardless of those many opinions, 2016 was another year, and for me, that meant a year of reading. I read about 116 books in 2016, give or take a few because I forgot to put some on my list. I know some of them just slipped through the cracks. Anyway, it was more than I hoped for, and I am happy to say that most of them were ones I enjoyed. There were a few weird ones, but we're not going to get into that today. Anyway, today I have for you my top 12 of 2016. It was supposed to be 15, but 3 of them are on my Kindle, and apparently I was overly unprepared for this, and my Kindle's on low batteries, so we'll just be doing my physical books, which is probably better, because 15 took a really long time. So, I'm not going to rank them, but I will do them chronologically, as far as I can tell, I think. Yeah. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? So, you may recognize this first one. This is Cinder by Marissa Meyer, and if the title sounds familiar to you, it's probably because it's the first book in Marissa Meyer's hugely popular Lunar Chronicles series. This book was actually written in 2012, but the Lunar Chronicles really seemed to take off in popularity at the beginning of last year, which is when I started reading them. Cinder is a Cinderella retelling that focuses on the titular character, Cinder, a cyborg who is treated as less than human in the futuristic city of New Beijing. But when she meets the handsome and kind Prince Kai, things start, a chain of events is set in motion that result in Cinder becoming more than she ever could have thought. Cinder was followed by the darker Scarlet, the super cute Cress, the really intense Winter, and the super sad prequel Fairest. I really enjoyed the whole series and devoured them really quickly. I did become kind of disillusioned with the number of young couples. It doesn't quite, I don't know, all the perfect young couples didn't quite work for me. But the storytelling and world building in Cinder were really fantastic. So, alright, so next on the list is False Prince, and I didn't actually read The False Prince in 2016. I read The Shadow Throne, which was the 3rd book in Jennifer Nielsen's Ascendance trilogy, but I didn't have that one on hand, so I decided to showcase the first one for y'all. Anyway, The False Prince is about a brutal and secret contest launched by a nobleman, Connor, after the king, queen, and crown prince of his country are murdered. This contest involves 4 boys who resemble the long-lost Prince Jaren. One of these boys, Sage, is a clever orphan who quickly figures out that all the boys are in real danger from Connor. He has to resist the pressures of his situation, and in the process, he may even save his country. I really, really loved this series. It was so well done, and came to a really satisfying conclusion with the one I actually read in 2016. But I highly recommend it. I really loved it. Next is a book by Francine Rivers. I have unfortunately been a little hit and miss with with Francine Rivers. I love her Mark of the Lions series, but some of her other books have just been a little lackluster for me. Bridge to Haven, however, was absolutely spellbinding. It tells the story of Abra, a beautiful young orphan who is found as an infant by this pastor, Ezekiel Freeman, and she grows up in this small town of Haven. But she grows up really confused about who she is and craving love, and this craving leads her to 1950s Hollywood, where she rapidly becomes a star and thinks that she's got everything she ever wanted. But it has a dark side, and soon she finds that she doesn't even recognize the girl in the mirror anymore. Bridge to Haven was a really beautiful story about acceptance and love and letting go that I really, really loved. It is pretty intense and rather explicit for younger readers, but I definitely recommend it for adults. What can I say about Timothy Zahn? He is amazing. He is an amazing writer, y'all. And his Star Wars books are pretty much the best that I have ever read. Zahn is the creator of Grand Admiral Thrawn, one of the greatest villains in the entire Star Wars Legends universe, who incidentally appears in this book, Specter of the Past. This is the first book of a duology that I just really, really enjoyed. And there are some weird things in the Legends universe, trust me. I've experienced them. But Zahn stuff isn't like that. They're really well-crafted, beautifully written stories that grow organically from the original movies and feel true to the universe, which I think is awesome. This book, The New Recruit, is absolutely awesome. I love Jill Williamson's books, and this was the first one that I ever read of hers, and I still love it so stinking much. In The New Recruit, it's the first book in her Mission League series, which is about this Christian spy organization. It's told through the eyes of Spencer Garmond, a typical teenage boy who doesn't think much. Seems to be the only one who recognizes the cheesiness of this concept, and doesn't think much of these quote-unquote churchers. But he gets pulled into the Mission League pretty much against his will. In this book, the team is sent to Russia on a missions trip, but Spencer, of course, gets himself into all kinds of trouble, and the adventure that results is pretty fantastic. This boy's sass is fabulous, and I have loved every single book that I have read of this series. So, 2016 was the year that I discovered Brandon Sanderson's adult fiction, and I am so glad I did. He just writes really amazing fantasy with great world building and amazing plots, and Elantris is definitely one of the best that I've read. It actually may be my favorite book of 2016. Hard to tell for sure, but I loved it so much. In Elantris, there's this city, Elantris, that was once the home of these beautiful godlike beings, but now something's gone horribly wrong. And into this situation steps Chaline, Princess of Teod and recently widowed Princess of Arelon, who's determined to figure out what's going on, and in the process, she will find herself fighting for the very soul of a nation. Though it is a bit dark for younger readers, I hugely enjoyed this story and was completely surprised by the climax. So, if you've known me for very long at all, you know I love Lynn Austen. And this book, All Things New, is another tally for why. It's set just after the Civil War in the South and focuses on the stories of Josephine Weatherly, a former socialite who's now beset by resentment, and her mother, who basically lives in a fantasy world. It also tells the story of Lizzie, a former slave who just doesn't really know how to be free now. When an agent of the Freedmen's Bureau ventures south trying to help rebuild, he's met by violence that shows that wounds take a long time to heal. All Things New has a really organic romance in it that I loved, and it tells a story about forgiveness and letting go and healing of wounds that I loved a lot. Kristy Cambron tells a beautiful and deeply moving story about loss and the love of God in The Butterfly and the Violin. It tells two different stories. The first is that of Adele von Braun, a violinist who's sent to Auschwitz in 1942. It also tells the story of Sarah James, a modern-day art collector who's struck by one incredible painting. The stories, as the storylines converge, they reveal a story of innocence lost and lives broken. But in the midst of it all, beauty survives. And this book just really deeply struck me. It kind of grabbed onto my heartstrings, and I will definitely be reading it again. In The Rose Legacy, Kristen Heitzmann created some of the most nuanced characters I think I have ever read in my entire life. Karina Maria de Gracia is running from her problems, and she thinks that Crystal, Colorado, a isolated mining town, is the perfect place to land. Once there, though, she finds that she may be a little in over her head. This is a fabulous story of good and evil, and the power of forgiveness, as well as the power of pride. It is pretty intense. I would not recommend it for younger readers. And though I went on to devour the rest of the series, I felt like this was the best of them all. But altogether, I really enjoyed the series, and loved this book. This is the single nonfiction outing on this list, and it totally deserves it. Secret Heroes of World War II by Chaline tells the story of a bunch of different people who had a huge impact on World War II, from scientists like Enrico Fermi to secret agents like Christine Granville to pilots like Douglas Bader. It kind of gives a glimpse into each of their lives and kind of introduces you to all the different facets that went into the war. It's written in a really readable style that I loved a lot. It made me want to dig deeper, and it gave me so many story ideas, y'all. Yay, more Jill Williamson. I am just continually amazed by the breadth of stories that she can write. Seriously, if you haven't read Jill Williamson, check her out, because she's awesome. And Captives is just another reason why. This is the first book in the Safelands trilogy, which tells the story of three brothers, Levi, Omar, and Mason, who have lived all of their lives with their tribe outside the ominous compound known as the Safelands. All their lives they've been told that the Safelands is dangerous and infected. All their lives they've been told to stay away. And then comes the day when everything changes and they're plunged into the very heart of it. It's kind of intense for young adult fiction. I was really surprised, but I loved the characters and the plot, and though it contains some mature content, I wouldn't recommend it for younger readers, but for older readers, check it out. Absolutely awesome. I loved it so much. And that brings me to my very last book, which is the fifth book in the Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarian series by Brandon Sanderson. This is how I was introduced to Sanderson's works, and though it's middle grade fiction, I love it a lot. This book, The Dark Talent, takes the series in a darker direction, as the title suggests. But throughout the series, really, the series is something really interesting. It's part adventure, part fantasy, part comedy, and even part writing advice, which I think is super cool. It does get progressively more intense through the series, culminating with this one. And though it was really different from the other books in the series, I really, really loved it. I can't say any more, though, because of series spoilers. So, check it out. I think you'll love it. So, that's that. Those are my books of 2016. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. I will put all of these books into the description so you can check them out further. But talk to me in the comments, guys. Have you read any of these books? What did you read and really love in 2016? I love to chat about books, so connect with me on social media, talk to me in the comments. I would love it, guys. Until next time, bye!